this is big. And I was absolutely floored. I thought it was fake news. I got the New York Times post. It went to my phone. I'm like, this is fake. I thought maybe it was a Twitter bug, whatever, but it's real. The PGA Tour, LIV, and DP World Tour are merging, creating an entity that will essentially own all of them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and break that down, some of the hypocrisies, some of the excitement, how it's going to change the game. But that is shocking news. So like we talked about, the PGA Tour, the LIV, and the DP World Tour are merging. My understanding is that the PGA Tour will still operate as a 501c. I think it was a 6, which was new to me, but it's a not-for-profit. However, the entity, this new entity that they're creating, is going to own all of them. So they will still be their own tours as of now. Again, there's a lot to be learned in the coming days. It's an announcement, and it's a lot of people's opinions right now, but they will remain their own tours. They're just going to be owned by the same entity now, working together, investing together, because the group of investors that created LIV, ultimately is going to be the main sponsor for this new entity. So what this says here, while the merger is a tectonic shift for golf, nothing will change immediately in how fans watch golf. We'll still have the U.S. Open next week, the PGA Tour, the LIV Tour, the DP World Tour. They're still going to finish their schedules that they've put together through the year. There's already been tickets sold. There's already been flights scheduled. Right? They couldn't just do that to the people. Afterward, like I said, it's unclear whether the LIV is going to continue independently, but we know for a fact PGA and DP World Tour will. Like I mentioned when we were kind of talking about this topic, the circuits said the agreement will end all pending litigation. LIV was suing the PGA Tour for ultimately saying you've created a monopoly that has made it impossible for competition to arise. PGA then sued LIV and said you forced our golfers to breach contracts that they've had in place. And so all of that litigation is going to drop, which I'm sure is a big sigh of relief for a lot of people. This is something is kind of interesting again. The three tours said they will work cooperatively and in good faith to establish a fair and objective process for any players who desire to reapply for membership with the PGA or the DP World Tour following the completion of the 2023 season, which Jay Monahan ultimately had said, when you left, you are gone. You are never coming back. So it sounds like he's going back on a lot of different threats that he had put out there. But Jay openly came out and said, going forward, fans can be confident that we will collectively deliver on the promises we've always made to promote competition of the best in professional golf, and that we are committed to securing and driving the game's future. So this is again, very, very interesting. There's been a lot of people that, for example, Rory McIlroy was very, very, very against this tour because of the human rights issues that are going on with a lot of that Saudi money. So it's going to be interesting how people like Rory respond, how people like Tiger respond. I already know there's been a few tweets put out there by golfers feeling like they just got hosed by not taking all of that money and just coming back to the PGA Tour. So I'm excited to learn a lot more about this and start to see the tweets that are going to fly out, because golfers are all posting. Like Colin Morikawa posted a tweet, said, wow, I just learned about this morning on Twitter. Would have been nice if they could have let the tour players know privately beforehand. But Donald Trump's on board. His post came out, said, great news from LIV Golf, a big, beautiful, and glamorous deal for the wonderful world of golf.
Trump does love golf.
He does. And
in his little book, The Art of the Deal, he's like, play golf.
Yeah.
He has like a whole chapter about it.
He's actually been not directly involved with LIV, but he's allowed them to play a lot of his courses for tournaments and whatnot. I think he loves the change, the team aspect of LIV. So, I mean, I think LIV is doing some really, really cool things. But my personal opinion on this merger is the LIV Tour, LIV Tour was really struggling with sponsors and TV deals, and they were just bleeding money. And the PGA Tour ultimately could not turn down the kind of money that this will bring to the table for them. And so the merger was 110% a money move. Again, I think you're going to see some pretty big names revolt. I wouldn't be surprised to see people like Rory, people like Tiger take some significant time off from the game and even step away from the tour temporarily because of what it stands for. And people like that have so much money that they have generational wealth already to this point. They don't need golf anymore. So I'm interested to see how some of those people handle it. But there's a lot more that we're going to see coming to fruition here in the coming weeks.
Because a lot of them really just found LIV distasteful to a certain extent, right?
Oh, yeah. They thought LIV was nothing more than trying to use sports to cover up some of the negative publicity that's been going out in
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So
fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Great update there, but it's great that they came together. In a certain way, it almost kind of reminds me a little bit of the old merger of the AFL and the NFL in the 60s. And then they're like, hey, we'll have a real Super Bowl. And then it all came together from that point on.
Yeah, it'll be I think at the end of the day, golf's going to revert back to what it was about 3-4 years ago, and people like Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson just went and made a shit ton of money, and they're going to be right back where they were, and nobody's even going to realize who's funding this big entity that owns PGA and DP World Tour. But for the everyday golfer, it's probably a win because golf's going to get a little bit more exciting.
And I feel like it did. I feel like LIV came in and they shook things up a little bit, and they're like, hey, you guys are kind of the old bureaucrats here. We're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to make things a little bit unique, a little different. And I feel like it brought some energy and probably some folks who maybe didn't watch the PGA as much are like, oh, what's this LIV thing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what like the Jack Nicklauses and some of these
the old
guard's
going to be like, this is bullshit.
They're going to be outraged.
So one question, what is DP World Tour? I was familiar with PGA and LIV, but I actually didn't know about DP World Tour.
It's just another tour. So there's all sorts of tours. There's the European Tour, the DP World Tour that you can play on. The DP World Tour does a lot more tour events in Europe and South America and the Middle East and whatnot, whereas it's not. People on the DP World Tour, for the most part, have either lost their tour card with the PGA, they're not quite playing to that level yet, or they're still trying to make it to the PGA Tour. It's obviously a lot better than a Korn Ferry, but it just doesn't have the same caliber of golfers as PGA, but it's probably the next closest to the PGA Tour.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure.
Go figure.